Ashe, 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 and welcome to the Ashe Shop podcast. I'm Ashley, your Orisha storyteller. Study is one of the most important aspects of our spiritual journey, and story time is my readings and retellings of the various stories of the Orisha. It is my prayer that these stories uplift you when you are down, expand your perspective, and strengthen your faith in yourself and Olodumare. Today's story comes from Diloggún Tales of the Natural World, How the Moon Fooled the Sun, and Other Santeria Stories by Ocha Ni Lele. This story is titled The Separation of Heaven and Earth from the Odu Okanameji. He starts this story with a quote stating that death is but a journey into life and life a journey into death, but this was not always so. Standing between the spiritual and material worlds is a gate known as death. We die in heaven to be reborn on earth, and we die on earth to be reborn in heaven. This gate is thin, tenuous, yet crossing it is fatal to material beings. As with most things in our world, it was not always like this. There was a time when the gates between the worlds were wide open. They crossed as easily as passing from one room to another in our homes. When earth was new and the first generation walked on her face, no great chasm divided the heaven and earth. The first creations lived in both worlds freely. The path between the two was unguarded. Heaven was home and earth was the marketplace, and those with time to travel could walk freely between the two. Of course, only humans and Orishas had this privilege. Animals and plants were stuck in one realm or another, and between the two, for them, this gate was known as life and death. Animals and plants, however, did have one power that humans did not, the power of procreation. Before dying, they reproduced. This replenished their numbers on earth. It was for this reason, the fact that they created life from their own forms, that they could not cross the great divide. Creatures born of the spiritual world were perfect, and creatures born of the material world were less so. In time, two people noticed this, a man and a woman. They thought, how powerful are the plants and animals that they can create life from their bodies and we cannot? They wanted to be powerful like the animals, so they went to heaven to petition Olofi for his ashe. Olofi looked at them sadly and said, "My children, it is true that animals do recreate their own kind from their bodies as do plants, but have you noticed that they die in the end? You do not die. You are eternal in this world." The man spoke first. He said, "Yes, Olofi, we are eternal, but why would our children die like the animals? They are not born of earthly parents. Oh, you are not born of earthly parents. Obatala molded your bodies from clay of the earth, and Olodumare gave you the breath of life. You are creatures of the perfect earth, created by Obatala's own hands, imbued with God's very breath, the Ashe of heaven. You are not bound to one world or the other." "But I want to have a child," said the woman. Her head was bowed before Olofi, and a single tear slid from her eye. "When I see the animals tending to their young, I get a longing here," and she touched her womb. "And a pain here," she folded her hands across her heart. "Surely this is a sign." Olofi sighed. He was concerned, but he understood. "So be it. You will have a single child. But remember that this child is not born as you were, and as such is not a perfect being. Instead of being molded from the sacred earth's clay by Obatala's hands, are imbued with the breath of God. It will grow inside your belly, nourished by your own body, and when it is born, it will breathe the air of this world and not the next. As such, you must never show it to the gate of heaven and earth. In its earthly form, it cannot be allowed to cross as you do. It would defile and change the ashe of both worlds." The man and woman agreed. Before the year turned, the woman was with child like an animal. Neither understood the mystery, but neither knew how the child, but neither knew how the child was placed in the womb. But it was there, and her belly grew. The first generations of humans marveled at the mystery of birth. They watched as the woman's belly swelled, and they were afraid with her. Her waters broke, and amid tears and pain, a new life slid from between her legs. Day by day, they watched the child grow, and everyone was involved in its upbringing and education. How strange, they thought, that they were creatures knowing all things, yet the young boy had no knowledge of anything, not even language. But did he learn? And they raised him on the stories of the Orishas and the knowledge of God and heaven. But having seen neither heaven nor the Orishas, the young man thought the stories were fable and fiction. When he was grown and able to fend for himself, he told his parents, "I do not believe in the stories you raised me on. I believe that neither the Orishas nor the heavens of which you speak." His parents smiled at each other knowingly. "Son," said the mother, "you were not born here. We were not born here. Obatala created our bodies from clay, and Olodumare himself gave us the breath of life. We know both worlds. You, however, were born from my womb. You are a child from earth and not heaven, and only one of your kind. This is why you cannot cross and see heaven for yourself. I do not believe what I cannot see," he said, "and if this heaven is real, I will find it." The world grew dark that day. Everyone tried to talk the young man out of his quest, but he was unwavering. When night came and the world slept, he left the village of his birth. He sought the gate between heaven and earth. It did not take long. He found the gate as it was in the stories of his childhood. It was beautiful and serene. He saw the path that led from this world into the next. Still, he was not convinced. "I will see this heaven for myself if it is real. I will see the Orisha with my own eyes." He took but a single step on the path, and before him a great figure appeared. It was Olofi. He said, "Child of earth, you are forbidden to cross this gate by your own parents. You are a creature born of earthly parents, not a human molded by Obatala's hands and given breath by Olodumare's lips. You have defiled the ashe of the sacred place." And with these words, Olofi brought down his cane to the earth hard, and it cracked and rumbled like thunder, and the path between heaven and earth were forever broken. That young man became an outcast that day. The earth was forever cut off from heaven. But with the gate closed, free passage was no longer available. As Olofin warned, the ashe of both worlds had changed when Earth's only child attempted to cross, for flesh born of flesh cannot travel into the spiritual world. I hope you enjoyed that story. That story reminds me so much of stories told within the Bible about the creation of man and the first interactions of Adam and Eve and the things that they got into. Did that story resonate with you? And what experiences did it bring up as you heard it? I look forward to hearing more from you. The resources today can be found at the book list located at theasheshop.com, where you can also register for classes, book your spiritual sessions, and get the supplies you need to anoint your body with our spiritual bath and body products. Thank you for visiting the Ashe Shop. Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. Oh.